Welcome back to the NECC. Our last matchup of the night may also be our biggest. The championship in the Champions Division about to get underway, pitting the pride of Santa Cruz, Nyte, who will look to finish off a fantastic season on top of the NECC. Coming into the playoffs as the number 1 seed, Nyte will make sure to see that the Slugs bring home the hardware tonight. However, their opposition shows no signs of slowing down. KingMeelo didn't have a winning record to end the year, didn't have a top seed, and most of all, in the minds of most people, did not have a chance to make it this far. But do not tell Cinderella to stop dancing until the clock strikes midnight. KingMeelo, the 6th seed, has gone all this way, and now is their last chance to dance. Welcome to the ball. Let's get it cracking. My name is Ethan Dolan, probably better known as Nailhead. Tonight, I am joined by Mick for this very, very special match.
Yeah, I'm so stoked to be here, especially, after that intro. How can I not feel just fuel pumping in my lungs, baby? But, I mean, overall, just super excited to see, especially mentioning how we've seen these players go out. I mean, KingMeelo, obviously, being an underdog, just coming into this whole division, just how he's performed, he's been a persistent name that I've casted over and over and over again. I feel like me and this guy are friends at this stage. And Nyte, coming in halfway through the season, my first ever game casting for him, how he just absolutely swept with the quickest series I think we've had in this whole league. When it comes around to Hearthstone, just having one heck of a start. And I think that by no means are either one of these guys, but the persistent man who's here, who constantly is running at a constant pace and just finding a way to keep himself in the game. And with Nyte, who's just such an aggressive player, always keeping himself on top and finding a way to just absolutely curb stomp his opposition. I feel like it's going to create such a great matchup tonight.
Yeah, Nyte's aggression has been unparalleled throughout this season, always looking for opportunities to go face, always looking for opportunities to get closer and closer to lethal damage. But you hit it exactly on the head there, Mick. KingMeelo, this calming presence, very constant, finding the correct plays and executing. Despite that 4-5 record on the year, none of it matters if you make it to the championship, baby. And here we are. So I'm excited to see how that mentality continues in this game, if the pressure will get to either one of them, if they'll be taken off their normal game plan.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you on that, and especially looking at how these decks are going to play out, looking at what these guys are bringing to the table and how this could play out overall. I'm super excited to see. I mean, we see a lot of aggro, we see a lot of control, we see two opposite sides of the spectrum, and I'm looking to see which side of the rainbow weighs down a little bit more and who exactly brings momentum coming into this to allow themselves to really give themselves an upper hand to not only just find themselves a whole series, but even just on a game-to-game basis. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and speaking of the deck list, Mick, I'm just going to say the one deck that really catches my eye, and I'd love to hear your opinions as well as the brains of this operation. I am merely the lips, maybe a vocal cord at best. I love Secret Paladin, all right? I'm that dude who back in the day was playing Curvestone. I was tossing mysterious challengers left and right. I was dirty on the ladder. I had to take a shower every time I won a game. And you know what I see? That top list for KingMeelo at 4 and 5. It's that Secret Paladin. It's the number 1 deck on ladder right now, if I'm not mistaken, holding on a 60% win rate. And yet on the other side, Nyte not bringing it to the table. I love this list, and I'm going to be surprised if Nyte doesn't ban it, because I think it's so strong, not just on the ladder, but has a lot of potential in the tournament setting as well.
I mean, looking at, though, what Nyte is bringing to the table, that's kind of a controversial opinion, I gotta say. But overall, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, the stats speak for themselves. Looking at what Secret Paladin brings to the table, how the whole game plays out, how it's just such an aggressive but yet tempo-style deck, it's a match made in heaven for those two archetypes. I gotta say, though, but looking at just these whole deck lists, what exactly each player brings as a whole compared to just a couple decks here and there. I mean, Control Warlock has also just been a super just heavy kind of deck. It's had a lot of influence. It's just easy to control. You have a lot of big minions thrown in there as well, and it's always threatening to look at. Besides that last series, I mean, Pymonster got a little bit unfortunate with his draws there. But I gotta say, when you're looking at Priest, I mean, Nyte's bringing that to the table. One of our most aggressive players coming in with a very slow archetype. That's what I'm super excited to see. Just watching one of our most aggressive, fastest playing players who just is always constantly on 6 gear, just him slowing it down to a deck where you actually have to consider every single option and play it out and look at the late game right off the bat. That's what I'm super excited to see exactly how this curveball, whether or not, KingMeelo is up to bat to swing or not.
Absolutely, we're going to see what Dex players won't be swinging with. KingMeelo going to be banning out that Druid, Nyte taking away the Rush Warrior on the other side, so those two lists will be off the board. That means left for KingMeelo will be the Secret Paladin, Token Druid, and that Priest list we were just talking about. On the other side, Nyte will have Aggro Paladin, that Clown Druid list, and not the Clown Druid, that's got banned, the Control Warlock, and that mid-range-ish Demon Hunter list we're looking on as well. So these two lists taken off the board. What are your thoughts after these bans here, Mick?
I gotta say, for Nyte to ban that off of KingMeelo, that's a really good idea. Looking at how well Rush Warrior performed in that last series, how just almost flawlessly was executed from Sausage Hero, it's got to be super scary to look at now. I mean, even me, I'm kind of I'm thinking about taking the ladder if I can play this clean as he did. And just to go ahead and get that out of the way, looking at everything that's really brought to the board, it totally makes sense. I mean, it's completely valid, and it's totally just kind of validated to understand why exactly this pick is coming through. I must say, though, kind of surprised the Demon Hunter getting banned. It's usually super threatening. It's not exactly the strongest on the ladder because there's so many conditions that you had to set up ahead of time to allow yourself to get to that stage in the game. But as soon as you get those Inquisitors out, it almost feels like the game won't stop. And there's nothing you can really do about it because you have to have multiple setups to allow themselves multiple taunts at that to actually block those shots. And I don't feel like there's enough taunts as a whole for really any of these decks to kind of, play out like that.
Yeah, and we are getting ready going into our first game right here. If you're just joining us, Champions Division action. We've got the championship. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the big ball. KingMeelo playing the part of Cinderella, and Nyte playing the part of the meat grinder all season long. You don't want to get within a 10-foot radius of this guy. Only 2 losses all year, and we'll be starting out with their Paladin list.
Yeah, and I'm super excited, especially looking at these starting hands with how aggressive and how great of a start Nyte's going to have here. With that Righteous Protector coming out, having a Hand of a Doll right there to go ahead and get yourself another card draw, give it that +2/+2, because we're guaranteed for it to survive this turn. Unless, KingMeelo wants to coin out that Crab Rider, I don't see him exactly being that aggressive to go ahead and utilize that and get it. But hey, I'll be dang. Maybe he's going to. That's exactly what he's executing, and, shutting that out right off the bat. That is going to give Nyte, though, a great exchange for the second Crab Rider, and technically setting up a much stronger late game if he can go ahead and get the Hand of a Doll on that instead, because that's going to be a threatening 6 damage on the next turn.
Yeah, we're going to see a Crab Rider played in response on the other side of Nyte, going to trade out with that Wind Fury. Very solid minion to get on the board right there. KingMeelo thinking about running this out right now, hovering. First day of school being thought about. Oh, not going to be taken. The kids are not getting on the bus, and here they are. Kids put on the school bus. First day of class. Let's get it going. Some 1-drops added to hand. They're going to be run out right now from KingMeelo, trying to wrestle some board presence backs. Going to start with the Conjure right there. Going to get a little bit of card advantage. That actually feels pretty big.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm surprised, though. Getting that Gibberling, that's a huge pull, especially for Secret Paladin. Looking at all those 1-cost spells, which are secrets, and they count as such, allowing yourself to just go ahead and copy a bunch of Gibberlings, give yourself a huge board presence, going ahead and copying that Hand of a Doll, getting that, secret on the board, that could have been a lot of minions on the board to play with. Only issue is, with this Crab Rider surviving this turn, getting all that utilization, getting those stats on the board to go ahead and trade out these next 12 minions that are going to go down. I mean, that alone, I'm not sure what exactly you can do about that besides just, getting this rod, trading that out, utilizing that, free card necessarily you just got in hand, and playing with what Murlocs is going to generate.
Yeah, and on the other side, another rod is drawn, a Ruby and Egg being played out right here. Unfortunate for KingMeelo, I don't think that Galloping Savior is going to be going off anytime soon. Hand of a Doll going to be played onto the Egg, making an eligible attacker with 2 power right here. A solid board, got the 2/4, got the 1/1. Of course, this rod on the other end going to be able to take control of the board for the most part and generate a solid amount of card advantage. We're going to see what KingMeelo has to play here. A lot of options for them, Mick.
Yeah, and I gotta say, just overall, that Psychic Conjure has been such a great player. I mean, just that alone, giving you that angling rod and giving you a little bit more resources. KingMeelo's archetype isn't aggressive as Nyte's is. he doesn't have as much as a curve. He is more of your general run-of-the-mill, secret paladin, which is going to just be running a lot of smaller cards, a lot of aggro, a lot of kind of just tempo over the course of the game and keeping your board flooded as possible and getting those stats to make them stick. But getting that angling rod, giving yourself that 3/2 weapon, giving yourself Murlocs, the most aggressive minion archetype there is in this game to play with, giving you not one, but 3 Murlocs to play with because of that, Murloc Tide Hunter, which is going to generate a 1/1 for you. I mean, that's just a lot to play with, and I gotta say, that alone is just going to be a huge contributor going forwards.
Yeah, generating that card advantage, especially in a matchup that's low to the ground, and this one is going to be big. On the other side, though, you got to look, Nyte has 2 of those underlight angling rods in hand, right? Yep. That's a representative 12 damage down the line, in addition to generating a solid amount of cards as well. That's 8 Murlocs over the course of the lifespan, so that's going to be tough. Dribbling tossed out. There's the Hand of a Doll, going to buff it up just a little bit. Second one will be coming through. We have got a whole party of Gibberlings, army in a can.
Yeah, and especially just looking at how, Nyte's going to be forced to really trade into these. Obviously, you had that 4/3 into 3/3. That's an easy, go ahead and get this out of the way. Hammer of Naru, going to be a great draw right there, opting for that over the angling rod. Obviously, you want to generate some stuff in your hand, but to get that 6/6 taunt down, which is going to really just keep your minions alive, that Righteous Protector, just protect that egg as much as possible, only break it out and trigger that death rattle when you need to as a last resort. That's going to be a great play. But, just also Nyte sitting at 30 health, just kind of having such a strong lead in terms of health, that's going to be a huge contributor going forwards because he has a lot of weapons in hand. He has to trade more and more and more because, looking at how KingMeelo's hand sitting right now, he has a lot of, minions to work with. So that's going to be a big, considering factor on how these guys are going to have to play out these next couple of turns. And I see Nyte really dwindling his health down on his own with this Hammer of Naru and with those angler rods when it gets to it.
Yeah, we do see, I've had my eyes on this Alexstrasza, the Lifebinder, in the bottom left-hand corner of Nyte's hand for a little bit of time as well. There's no real negative for going face knowing you have that Alexstrasza to back it up later, right? That is 8 instant damage just ready to crumble. It's a lot of pressure to put in hand. There's a lot of reach right now from Nyte. So as nice as KingMeelo's hand is, and it kind of feels like Nyte is running out here, you always got to remember that Alexstrasza is just sitting there. I'm also excited to see if any of these secrets have been going off. Right now, just kind of sitting on the board for KingMeelo. Oh My Yogg has no targets in hand right now. And in addition, the... Oh, what is that? Someone's a 3/4 taunt. Why am I blanking? Galloping Savior. Not going to find many targets here. You have to play 3 spells in a turn to trigger that one.
Yeah, and even just alone, the odds of that. It's not just 3 spells, it's 3 cards. And looking at Nyte, he just doesn't have the resources for that. Obviously, you could play an angling rod. There could be a little bit of resource generation there, but that alone, unless he just stacks a good bit of cards together to allow that to trigger off, it's not going to be all that big a deal. But I do love this trade that's coming out right here with the Blade Master, with this Nerubian Egg, getting a 4/4 right after that, really just getting free stats. The Crab Rider, I don't see that being exactly the option, but instead, Nyte, once again, utilizing the health pool, being ahead in that, and actually letting that Nerubian Egg stand out for another turn. Personally, I would have gone for the free 4/4 in that case.
Yeah, I'm right with you. 3/4 seems like the move, but once again, that's why Nyte is out here slinging spells, and we are just talking about it. Has had a very impressive season to date. KingMeelo been put on the back foot here just a little bit. We'll see what they can do. Taking this out of this hole. There is the commander coming through, going to be able to draw a minion off the top. Looking for a little bit more help than they're finding from the top of the deck right now. There's an Ogremancer. Going to try to put up some skeletons with taunt as well. Clearing out a 1/1 from that side of the
Oh my god.
Going to get another secret.
So many secrets to play with right here. That's really the scariest thing that Nyte's looking at right now is how to exactly maneuver himself around that. Noble Sacrifice being the only secret really in Secret Paladin's pool that actually has some sort of block. And combining that with the advantage, that's going to create some threats on the board that's going to kind of pressure Nyte as a whole. But looking at how short everything's going to be, and with that Alexstrasza also being in hand, this is going to be series. This is going to be a point right here. This is going to be closing out that first game as we see the mirror matchup going into the favor of Nyte. And I don't think anybody was looking, for it to turn out any other way besides KingMeelo himself.
Yeah, absolutely. That Alexstrasza in hand, we talked about it in the middle of the game and how much reach that gives you, right? If I've got that Alexstrasza in hand, I am just full gas. I am duct taping my foot to the gas pedal. I'm throwing the brake out the window. What need do I have? Because if I play aggressive there and I get you low, boom, I got my finisher. If I play aggressive and you're kind of piecing me up, you got hands, guess what? I'm healing 8 health and I'm putting a threat onto the board that you have to deal with soon. So much versatility, and we see it in game number 1. Nyte walks away the winner.
Yeah, and I'm surprised overall. I mean, especially with all those factors that you have with Alexstrasza being such a powerful card, having that card in your bottom left, having it in your mulligan right off the bat all game, and just looking at you every single turn, tempting you, saying, get to that turn 9, baby. I'm sitting here. I'm waiting for you. Don't worry. I'll be here all day. You show up when you need me. I'll work to your schedule. I mean, once it gets around to turn 9, you want to set it up for that case. And by the time you get there, I think that's what Nyte was doing, saying, I need a board. I need a way to make sure this girl gets a finisher on my hand.
It's like getting to a fight on the schoolyard, but big brother's in the vicinity. No matter how much trouble I get in, no matter how bad it gets, Alexstrasza is sitting on the bench, just ready to go. Nyte gonna run out here game number 2 with this Warlock list.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I feel like this is going to be threatening for Meelo. I mean, Warlock, a persistent threat, even on ladder and competitive. No matter where you go, this deck is going to stand out in this meta. Ever since the expansion came out and people found a way to really manipulate, control Warlock, I mean, just looking at how many soul fragments you have to deal with, how many resources there are to play with going forward, and how you can just play out the whole game. Really just take the board by force and just really just leash it up and keep it under control. It's just absolutely insane. And I think facing this Paladin, how many small minions there are going to be, School Spirit already being in hand, that's going to be a big factor going forward. And especially with the other spells that are in this deck lineup, that alone is just going to be super scary to consider.
Super scary indeed, and I concur. I really love this Warlock list. People have found a way to break it, to push the limits. There's so much versatility. There's so much you can do, and hey, it's no secret that tapping is probably the best hero power. Draw a card, usually the best 3 words in any card game. KingMeelo going to start off with an Avenge here, popping up a secret to start. Bit of a slow one, and I'm looking for this Paladin list to get under the Warlock to start things off if you want a solid chance to succeed. Instead, the opposite is happening. A board being established here by Nyte, shuffling some soul fragments in. Not the look for KingMeelo.
Yeah, and it's just super kind of unfortunate that he sat there and felt forced to go Paladin again, not winning that first matchup, knowing that you're going to have to go ahead and get out of the way. And better yet, that second matchup going up against this control Warlock. Obviously, not having too much to play with in hand. Gonna more have to wait for that Talon to come out and get kind of resource to play with from that. But at this stage in the game, having 2 1-3s, you can never really complain about that. And I gotta say, Soul Shear is gonna be a great draw for this to allow him to go ahead and clear out that Crab Rider. With the Oh My Yawg coming out, Lord knows what's gonna be generated. And we're gonna get a Rogue Secret off of that and a Plagiarize at that. So if there's a way, if this Scorpion comes out next turn, that's going to be another exact spell for Nyte to generate for free, technically, if he gets that Poisonous Minion down.
Yeah, finding that Plagiarize going to be interesting right there. For those out of the loop, at the end of your opponent's turn, you add copies of the cards that they played to your hand. So right on the money. Nyte going to be able to generate some card advantage here, going to snag whatever KingMeelo does play. Venomous Scorpion going to be even greater card advantage. We're stacking card advantage on card advantage. Yo, dog, I heard you like card advantage, so put card advantage in your card advantage so you can get more card advantage. We're going to see what the Scorpion finds for KingMeelo and Nyte down the line.
Wow, and I gotta say, all these options looking super tempting. Libram of Wisdom, obviously giving your minion that buff right out the bat. He can technically clear out next turn with that Crab Rider if it decides to live of any chance. If Nyte doesn't decide to go ahead and clear it out, which I pretty much guarantee he's going to want to. But just looking how this board is lining up, finding yourself so much to play with, that Libram of Hope, though, I mean, you can't beat that. Restore 8 health, restore, you know, put an 8/8 with Divine Shield onto the board with Taunt as well. I mean, that's a huge card, just alone. And especially having the cards in hand, in deck, to really kind of play that out, allow yourself to survive a little bit longer. I mean, against Warlock, that's a threatening thing. You're going to live a little bit longer, but Lord knows if you're going to have a deck by that point.
Yeah, that attrition, that fatigue as the game goes on is a big factor. Nyte Gonna have the Scorpion now, has a few solid options, going to trade out on board here first, do some damage, wipe everything with the School Spirits. Very solid right there, shoveling some more fragments into their deck, passes it back to KingMeelo with a clean slate. Kazakus Golem Shaper coming through. We're gonna see some golems enter here for KingMeelo.
Yep, and looking at all these options right here. Having a taunt, that's going to be great. Having Poisonous Lifesteal, all these options, super, super tempting. Only issue is, I mean, there's just not really too much to play with. The Stealth would probably be a little bit better, but the Battle Cry, having a copy of this, that's the biggest advocate for KingMeelo right now. You want to make your board look a lot bigger. You want to make it threatening. So Nyte feels forced to say, yo, I need to do something about this. I need to play one of my control options so by the time this late game gets around, I'm dwindled down and I don't have as much to play with. The Siphon Soul will be a free clear for one of those, but with no kind of real, I mean, threats out of the way, with no other cards to really kind of play with. You already have a taunt on the board, and getting that trade out, that's going to be pretty huge, and that's alone is going to play into the likes of that Drain Soul or a Venomous Scorpion with something else. But having Talon on field with that trade going in, with that taunt, just, you know, kind of just looking you in your eyes, saying it's fine if I die, but I'm going to sit there and go and clear that out anyways. That alone, you really need to consider, you know, when you're in KingMeelo's hand, he's not going to have too much to play with, but all of his cards are looking a lot better in terms of having some draws and things compared to the likes of Nyte, who only has to wait on this corruption to come out.
Yeah, with that forward ring dying, speaking of the corruption coming through, Siraj the Defiler will be added to hand. Nyte kind of adds a little bit to that clock. It feels like you know Siraj's hand, right? Both players, deckless are free information. You know what that top CMC card is, so it's going to be tough. You know there's an imposed clock on you if you are KingMeelo. Noble Sacrifice coming through, just trying to find anything to put on the board. There's a Northwatch Commander going to generate some card advantage because they do have a secret on board, generating even more card advantage. Looking forward, there's the Hand of a Doll, going to draw another card. So KingMeelo right here has a free turn, the board is clear, able to find a whole bounty of cards to add to their hand. We're going to see if it's enough to get them down the stretch. We're finally going to see the Scorpion coming through that was generated off of a secret. School Spirits found right there. Mortal Coil, Blast from the Past, that one is from the classic set. Able to find some card advantage in addition to the Shadow Council, which I think is the least likely option.
Yeah, and I gotta say, just the way that kind of KingMeelo is sitting right now. I mean, if I'm in his shoes, I'm super confident. Only issue is when you're facing up against a control warlock, you never know when that ticket is going to be triggered. You know that right now he has not played anything higher than a 6 count. So, Nyte, he's sitting super happy, thinking that he knows he has that just nature of intimidation just playing into his favor right now. Only issue is KingMeelo, you got to know that he has not cast a 7 cost, knowing that he does not have a ticketus in hand to really corrupt. Otherwise, that strongman would come out for full value right now. He would be spending 7 mana for that to go ahead and get that corruption down. But being he hasn't, KingMeelo needs to go ahead and recognize this, which I think he's doing, trading out all these minions, finding a way to get this board control, and setting up for a pretty chunky conviction these next 2 turns, especially with the Alex Straza going ahead and finding a way to just get this board down, find some ways to buff it up, get some more damage to play into your favor. That's going to be huge if he can find a way to execute this, and especially with the Alex Straza. Once again, looking at your face, looking pretty tempting. I mean, that's just got to... I mean, why wouldn't you play it?
Why wouldn't you play it? Indeed is the thought on my mind as well. Nyte, pretty solid position. We're talking about how this Warlock list likes to go the distance, likes to play this attrition game. KingMeelo's just not up for that kind of affair with this Paladin list. I mean, we even saw it last game, right? KingMeelo just couldn't stand even against that other Paladin list. We're going to see Leader of Hope hold out right here.
Really?
Face, but only 2 of it coming through.
Yeah.
A very aggressive move from KingMeelo, putting all their cards on the table here, Mick. They feel like they're in a desperate enough situation.
Man, and I mean, I've only counted 1 Siphon Soul this game. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So, I mean, that could be just alone, knowing that could be somewhere in your deck, having that hero power to play with, that's threatening enough alone. That Void Drinker also going to be a great little advocate for trade right there, going ahead and getting, you know, that Divine Shield off, allowing it to be really vulnerable to whatever at that stage. But Talon was looking a lot more tempting, I gotta say, in that last turn, instead of only valuing 2 heals out of the full 8 that you get, getting 1/4 of that value that you theoretically had.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive play, and indeed you are correct. You only counted 1 Siphon Soul, but only 1 Siphon Soul being run by Nyte here tonight. As my deck list is correct there, Argent Protector coming through, going to reapply Divine Shield to that 8/8 taunt. Reinforce is the play, putting 1 on board. Despite the aggressive play, it has panned out a decent amount. KingMeelo finally finding some board presence. They've been looking for it all game long. The only question is, will they be able to keep it here down the stretch?
Oh, this man easily. He's going to sit there and probably end this game. If he can keep that Alex Straza combined with that Conviction rank 3, that alone is going to be huge, especially if he keeps that 8/8 stuck. But going ahead and getting that Argent Protector on there, finding a way to let it live, and not having that Cascading Disaster be really, having a corruption factor to it yet. I mean, you're going to spend that 5 mana to corrupt it, make it a lot better next turn, but this turn is where you really need to start clearing this out, baby, and that alone, getting all these trades out, getting that Noble Sacrifice, man. He's going to go ahead and have this next turn, if I can count correctly, which I hope I can, 6 extra on top of this 11. So that's going to be 18 with that Alex Straza. That's going to be 26 damage. He can go ahead and technically get Nyte to a killable state right now. But you also have to look at that Ogremancer. Look at how that Conviction is going to, really trigger that and give yourself a 2/2 taunt. I mean, there's so much to consider. And having that Hand of a Doll is also going to be mighty good when you really look at it.
Yeah, we're going to see the trade come through right away. Hand of a Doll being dropped down right there, making it a 5/5. We've got first day of school. Drop all the little kitties off. Going to add those to hand. Hero Power coming through. There's the Reinforce, adding a little bit more beef to the board. KingMeelo swinging in, saying the face is the place. Got the trading done early on, and now can get right down to brass tacks on this turn. Has a bit more mana to play with, thinking about what they can do that's most efficient to end off this very solid turn for them.
He's got to sit there and go for both these 1-drops. I mean, when you really look at it, you have to know that he just played that for a Cascading Disaster. Even if you're not, in KingMeelo's shoes, if you're not in our shoes where we can see both sides of the board, KingMeelo has to consider, no! Having that Cascading Disaster, you know that he's going to want to play that. He hasn't played one this game yet. He's going to be drawing it here soon. He's going to be building it up. So you want to increase the odds of that 8/5 surviving or that 5/5. Letting something on the board just stick and not having that factor going forward, that's going to be huge because now Nyte has 2 of them to play with.
Yeah, the strongman coming through, that 6/6 taunt is going to hurt. KingMeelo, all of a sudden, they are staring down a board larger than their own. They had it good just one turn ago. They passed control over, and Nyte just absolutely ran with it. The door was left open, and Nyte didn't just crawl in, jump through it, played down everything they had in hand. Absolutely beautiful touch on top with the strongman, providing a bit more protection. KingMeelo, once again, kind of being put on the back burner here in this matchup.
Yeah, and I really kind of confused right here. Alex Straza looking like KingMeelo is tempted to pull that out. Only deal is you have to consider this ordering. You have to look at that first day of school. It's a 0 mana card. I mean, Nyte has no secrets on the board. He has really nothing stopping you from playing that. You need to look at what options are going to be handed to you first. Look at what kind of advantage you can give yourself because both of those are going to be 1 mana before you go ahead and get the Alex Straza down. He may be looking for some form of lethal with both of those Conviction rank 3s in hand. Only issue is you have a taunt looking at your face. You're not going to get that full value out right now. Obviously, you could pull one right now, but throwing down the Young Priestess, I mean, I'm trying to consider what exactly is being looked at right here. What is being factored into this decision-making for, KingMeelo? And if he ends up winning this match, by all means, I would love to hear about an interview. But, I mean, goodness gracious, I'm just kind of in awe right now.
Yeah, no reason not win the first day of school. If I am playing a game, I want the most options possible, baby. Yeah. Cascading coming through right here. Going to destroy 3 minions and hitting all the heavy hitters right there. Solid stuff from Nyte. Must have ate their Wheaties this morning or something because that RNG looking great. Rub the monitor, whatever you got to do. Shake that lucky rabbit's foot. But whatever they did, it is working out. They're able to clear the board. They have complete control of the board. Ogremancer coming through.
That hurts. That hurts, man.
Coming through.
That hurts, man. Being in such a state where you're sitting there saying, I have nothing. I have no minions on board. I have a first day of school. How am I going to compare to an 8/8? Let me go and drop down a 1 draw. Or a 1 cost. Nobody really says that. Nobody considers that. I don't think anybody's really thought that in their heads. And I mean, just having this sociologist to come out to go ahead and top off and corrupt that Ticketus. I mean, KingMeelo's had plenty of chance up until this time, but now with that corrupted Ticketus, having only 7 cards left in your deck, I mean, something's got to happen immediately. Otherwise, Nyte's going to go ahead and get another point on the board.
Yeah, that ticket is going to be a massive, massive threat from the top 5 cards for their opponent's deck. In addition, just being an 8/8, absolutely built, a unit, if you will. Warsong Envoy, Voodoo Doctor coming through, going to be able to restore 2 health to KingMeelo's face right there. There's the reinforce, tapping it down. But once again, Meelo ran out of steam is what it feels like here, Mick. Had solid opportunity, had a lot on the board. There's a Twisting Nether just to boot. Nyte has all the tools, is going to decide to go face here and then drop the Asiraj.
And that's exactly what you want, to get that second Strongman out, get that Lucky Soul, get that Cascading Disaster for free? I mean, come on, man. There's nothing you can really do about that. You want to go ahead and get this board control. You see what KingMeelo is doing. I mean, any opponent, any person who's experienced in Hearthstone could read this and say this is a desperate last attempt right here. And I mean, that's exactly Nyte's reading it like a book right now. This man's just looking at KingMeelo as a walking book, and he's reading each and individual page at this stage in the game. Because, I mean, when there's not much else to work with, you have to find a way to get those convictions down. If that's the only thing in your hand, I mean, that Holy Nyte, really, that Knight of Anointment just not being helpful. If you go ahead and pull it out right now, that's going to give you one more card to work with, except for, but that ticket is going to probably come down next turn, an 8/8 for 6 mana, burning the rest of your deck. I mean, what can beat that?
Not much can beat that is the only correct answer. KingMeelo sputtering out here at the end. Gonna tap there, tap down the reinforce, going face with the weapon, only finding 1 damage, and it's looking pretty futile. Nyte's hand is massive. The board advantage is massive. Jiraxxus is massive, and this game is turning up all night right now.
Man, this is it. Oh man, I gotta say, KingMeelo playing in such a great way in the early stages, finding a way to just kind of play things out, give yourself a little bit more board to play with, and it really comes down, I gotta say, in that match right there, having those 2 convictions in hand and pulling out the Alex Straza, obviously big, but I mean, with one of those convictions, you want to go ahead and throw that down. You want to get that trait into the Strongman for free. Find a way to get more minions on the board. Even though there's a Cascading Disaster at that point, have more options on the board for that second follow-up. Give yourself a chance to have more damage on the board to play with as a follow-up and make the whole board a threat instead of just 3 of them. Make sure that there's a way that that opponent can read and say, yo, I need to get rid of everything because these could also be buffed now that we're sitting at 10 mana. And at this stage in the game, this is where Nyte, this Demon Hunter I was talking about that needed to be banned. I mean, I personally thought KingMeelo finally got rid of the Secret Paladin. He's going to be running Token Druid into this. So, Lord only knows how this whole series could finish out or how it could continue.
Yeah, KingMeelo needs something and needs something in a desperate way here, Mick. It's about midnight, and Cinderella has not had the performance that they were looking for. Every card in KingMeelo's collection about to turn back into pumpkins right now. Nyte trying to put the finishing touches on a sweep here in the championship. They've played so great all year long, and they played so great tonight. They're going to kick things off here with a Battle Fiend. Nice, aggressive start.
Man, and just looking at that alone and having to go ahead and follow that up with a Guess the Weight. Obviously a great card overall, knowing that you're getting that Gibberling, guaranteeing that your next card's most likely going to cost more. I mean, only real option is having something that costs equal, and that's just kind of unfortunate because there's nothing you can do about that. Getting that second Guess of the Weight's going to be great, but having such a free little pool here, and Nyte not opting to buff that Battle Fiend this term, okay? But, I mean, alone, this man, he is up 2-0. He's doing what he's doing, and he's doing it right. So, I mean, there's nothing I can really say at this stage in the game, but everything's following up. That Gibberling, I mean, looking at what KingMeelo has in hand, he has a way to copy it twice here. Only issue is there's no real huge buffs that are going to allow any of those to really stick on the board right now.
Yeah, finding sticky Gibberlings is the big key, so you can keep on replicating, keep smashing that Control V button, just getting more Gibberlings out there. Doesn't have the buffs, doesn't have the ability to be sticky, and you know if you put out that many Gibberlings, they're probably just going to all get traded into, and that's not what you want when you're trying to build up some momentum. It's like you said pre-game Mick here, talking about this list that Nyte is piloting. Once it gets going, once the pieces are in order, there's nothing you can do but just stand by and watch your life total tick down, down, down. KingMeelo has to find an answer here early on.
Yeah, and this is two aggro matchups that we're looking at against each other. I mean, obviously, Demon Hunter being a full aggro across the board, there's no real win condition to him. I mean, his hero power alone being 1 mana gain plus 1 attack, that alone is a win condition. Give a man 30 turns and he'll find a way to win with that. But when you look at everything else on the board, having those Inquisitors, having 2 of those in your deck, and already having one of those philosophies in hand to copy it, I mean, that alone is just something that's concerning by itself. And being able to play it this turn, oh, this man, you already saw it. He hovered it for a second. He wants to go ahead and get that Joker down. He wants to go ahead and give it a chance. While it's the only minion he has in hand, it's going to be a guaranteed copy. Because, I mean, that alone, actually not opting for it, I'll be darned. But, I mean, just knowing he already has that combination, already has a way to duplicate it and give himself a guaranteed 16 damage with that hero power on top of that minion. I mean, looking at KingMeelo already being at 22, that alone is super concerning. I mean, KingMeelo, I know he's always on the timer here, especially every single one of these decks that he's played against. He hasn't pressured out, any real threats overall. And I mean, that alone is just something that you have to be worried about in his shoes to figure out when exactly you have to step up, when you have to really do something. These Glowflies coming out is going to be a huge play, but how many of them are going to stick? That's really what it comes down to. And having these Glaives, being able to train at 3 of those in Nyte's shoes, and giving that Battle Fiend such a huge attack advantage, obviously you got to trade it out. You got to get rid of these minions. But nonetheless, letting 2 of those stick, that could be the turning tides that he needs to actually give himself an advantage here.
Yeah, Gibberling going to be rolled out right here. We're waiting and waiting, and it's going to be triggered. There's the Innervate, getting our second Gibberling. Going to be finding our third right here off of Nature Studies. Finding some solid stuff. Maybe not exactly what we're looking for. Going to find Mark right there. Another Gibberling coming through. They do have some buffs in hand. KingMeelo in a position where this Druid deck can really run away with the game, provided the proper buffs.
Yeah, this right here, this turn, getting that Soul to 4 is making sure everything not only sticks, but has a replacement of itself. I mean, as we say in the recruitment process, I mean, the only goal you really have is 1 mana is to find a replacement for yourself in the long terms. And that Soul to Force, that's a free 4 mana for every single minion to know, not only whenever I die, I got it guaranteed somebody's going to come into my place and run a little bit better, especially for those 1/1 Gibberlings that are going to turn into 2/2s. I mean, that's just, how can you beat it, man? But looking at how everything's playing out right now, it's going to keep on going face. So I think KingMeelo is going to have to be looking at that, Power of the Forest right there, or something to really just put a ton on this board, let him survive for another turn, because that Inquisitor's only got 2 more turns before it comes out.
Yeah, there's the Solar Eclipse. We're going to see that right into a buff. The whole board looking in tip-top shape. We're going to see Mark of the Wild come through, and this is a whole lot of damage that Nyte is facing down. KingMeelo has finally found their stride, and it doesn't look like they're going to be swept here today. Board is so good right now. There's an I-beam off the top. It's going to allow Nyte to clear a little bit out. Going to allow them to heal a little bit, but I don't really feel like they're going to have enough here.
Yeah, I'm completely with you, especially looking at how much attack he has. He can sit there and kill something, and he can get a pretty hefty heal off of it. Only issue is, there's no way you're getting rid of that whole board. You're not getting rid of 7 minions, especially when 5 of them are going to replace themselves when they die. I mean, there's not really you can do about that. And I got to say, going forward, this is what KingMeelo needs. He knows that he's going to be facing this Demon Hunter. He knows that he needs to just build a big board, because Demon Hunter, all in all, I mean, it's better than Hunter. Technically, when you look at how that hero power plays, you can go ahead and get right off the bat. It plays into so many cards that you got, so many, just your deck influence and the synergy that comes to that class is monumental. So just seeing how it plays out, Demon Hunter has 1 goal. That is your face. I mean, and no matter who you are, it could be you, Nailhat, it could be any of you viewers. When you're facing a Demon Hunter, your face is all he cares about, and not in a good way. He doesn't want to sit there and kiss it. He doesn't want to, pamper it up or anything. He doesn't want to get you dressed for the ball. He wants to beat the living stew out of it and make sure you look in your worst condition possible. So going ahead, getting a lot of supporting people around you, a lot of supporting minions that are going to keep you alive and really just create a better overall threat. That's the bigger goal that you need to be looking at before that turn 8 comes around, before, heck, even turn 3 comes around. And looking at KingMeelo's hand for this turn around when he's trying to get back to the Secret Paladin and find a way to close this out with his 3rd time running this deck. I mean, I think he has a pretty solid start.
Yeah, the start is looking pretty good indeed. There's the Fiend once again to kick things off, just like last game. You were talking about KingMeelo not concerned with Nyte, excuse me, not concerned with anyone except the other face on the end, and KingMeelo's face would be the one in question. Has their eye on the prize, and the prize is that trophy at the end of this game. But I liked what I saw from KingMeelo last game there, Mick. Finally turned things around. Really felt like they took their time with each and every turn. Really was patient. I would even say methodical down the stretch there. Found the best plays, found the win. Right here, going to find this Crab Rider and able to clear off the board to kick things off.
Yeah, and I love the way he kicked it off. I was even thinking in my head, get that Knight of Anointment right there. You can go ahead and get a 1-1 on the board. Only 2 is a Battle Fiend that's got 2 health, baby. That ain't going to do nothing right now for you. So getting that Crab Rider down, going ahead and making Knight forced to go ahead and trade that out, especially seeing how well you played that last match. He's going to say, he's now actually going to be forced to look at minions, knowing that's going to be a bigger goal that KingMeelo is looking for. If he can find a way to execute that, I mean, he knows that late game he's going to have those Inquisitors to play for. I feel like knowing up front, he made that mistake last turn around, not exactly looking at minions all that much, and he's going to be keeping his eye on them a little bit harder this time around, making sure they're supervised and kind of keeping them in place, because once you get to that turn 8, once you get that Inquisitor, that's when you know you're going to be getting that face damage. In the meantime, you got to make sure that there's enough minions on the board that you don't get beat out in your own game. You don't get out aggroed as a Demon Hunter and let this man come out from behind and slip under your radar.
Yeah, KingMeelo right here, thinking about a secret, also has another one out. Noble Sacrifice will enter play here, going to swing in, grabbing yet another secret from their deck right there, getting closer and closer to that full Christmas tree that we like to see. Mon and Claws coming through, going to be able to clean up the board with this one. Mana Feeder Panthara also coming through, generating some card advantage because of the hero power being used. That's going to trigger a Noble Sacrifice, leaving a 1-1 on board. Probably not exactly what you had in mind when the Noble Sacrifice is put out there, but on the upside, the Avenge will come through. Mancrik going to trade out with that one, leaving just a 2-3 on board for Nyte here.
Yep, KingMeelo, you can already see him. You can see him hovering over it. Kazakus, that's the move this turn. Obviously, that's going to be a huge advocate, getting that 5 mana, knowing that it's going to have something and then summoning a copy of itself on top of that. I mean, is that the one he opted for? Heck yeah, it is, baby. You know he wanted that. You know he wanted a way to keep it alive, keep it healthy, find a way to go ahead and build that big board that he's really looking for that beat out Nyte last time around, and almost creating some kind of, Jev Rig token druid in a sense with that Kazakus. Finding a way to get yourself together, build as big as a board as you did last game overall. I mean, that alone is going to be playing really well, and Nyte finally finding something to kind of counter that. Only issue is, this NECC is only doing 1/1s. It's not doing much work besides that. I mean, obviously you got an 8/8 to deal with, but by that turn, KingMeelo, he's going to be looking at dropping this golem this turn and having 2 5/5s, both with Divine Shield.
Both with Divine Shield indeed. Like you said, those 1/1s, I mean, it felt good. You heard me with the woo, but exactly, just being 1/1s isn't going to do a whole thing. That's the child in me. I'm no good at math, so when I see a big number, I just get excited. Greater Golem will be coming through right there. Talked about the power that does have, the board presence that KingMeelo just found. Once again, an army in a can, but card advantage is how Nyte will respond, playing that Skull of Gul'dan with the Outcast, and a whole lot of goodies being added to hand.
There's a hoop for you. Not only getting a bunch of 1/1s, but getting nine mana worth of discount. I mean, making sure that each one of those cards are a lot cheaper, getting 3/0 costs in your hand. I mean, that alone, 2 of those cards costing 2 mana, albeit you're not getting full value out of them, but still, nonetheless, 7 mana is a huge discount, especially sacrificing an easy little turn for it and having those cards literally immediately playable and getting this life seal off from that's going to be huge. Finding a way for only one of those 5/5s to stake, that's the power of Kazakus. Leaving one of those on the board, having that Divine Shield. He could go face with this if he wants to and go ahead and let that Divine Shield stick. or he could trade it. You still have a 5/5. I mean, so just a lot of resources to play with right now. I think the Ogremancer is looking pretty tempting right now. Talon's going to be great, but Ogremancer, you know the Demon Hunter's going to be playing a lot of these. I mean, a bunch of spells. As weird as it sounds, I mean, the man's not a mage, but he feels like one. He's a very aggressive one in that sense. And I mean, if you can go ahead and slow that down, get a couple taunts on the board to play with, especially when you only have, you know, not a 2/3 at that point, but only 2 damage to play with, he's got to do something to find a way to get onto that 5/5, and throwing in the Ogremancer would help. But Talon being the play here, I don't think anybody can complain. That's why they're playing. We're not. But I mean, then again, we also do have the advantage of seeing both sides of the board. So I mean, don't let them know.
We do have perfect knowledge. Don't let them know. Indeed, Warglaves picked up on the back of that end. A little bit of card advantage there. We're going to discover a card here. I-Beam, always very solid. Crimson on the left-hand side. We'll be able to give you a little bit more card advantage. I don't anticipate the Dreadlord's Bite being taken here. The other do seem like more solid options. I-Beam seems pretty solid. You're able to pop Divine Shield or do a little more. Going to opt for the card advantage, taking the runner, finding a Chaos Strike off the back end. That's going to be pretty good given the lifesteal on the blades.
Yeah, when you look at how things are playing out right now, I mean, going ahead and getting that runner, getting that mana feeder, it's pretty crazy to see how good of a board he's building for himself without even really having to use any spells. I mean, that alone is going to be playing a huge factor in getting that double jump right there, drawing an Outcast card from your deck. That's going to be a guaranteed trigger, you know, the next turn or two, because as soon as you pull that, it's going to be on the rightmost side of your hand. It's going to have an immediate effect on it, and it's going to play to a huge advantage. And this Ogremancer coming out this turn, I mean, that's going to be great, especially if you can get a Divine Shield on it, but we really got to see exactly how KingMeelo wants to play this out. And I think that's exactly the read he's going for.
Yeah, and I think it's the correct read indeed. Oh, hold on just a second. KingMeelo's got other plans than what's in the booth. And we're going to the face. The face is the place right now. Nyte going to take 7 to the dome piece down to 23. KingMeelo playing with fire, showing their aggression here, and they need to find a win. Otherwise, they are being sent home. Warglaves coming on through for Nyte.
Wow, and he can actually get this 2-7. I mean, getting this, I mean, looking at how everything can play out, having that philosophy in hand with that Inquisitor, this is where things get a little bit scary for KingMeelo's side. I know he's not aware of it just yet because it hasn't been put on the board. But, I mean, when you see what there is to deal with it, I mean, Face is the place, but not for Paladin. And that's the only concern I really got. Looking at how everything's playing out, I mean, this man, if you're trying to face race him, he's going to beat you 10 times out of 10. I mean, there's no question to it, especially with that hero power. So looking at how he just clears out the board, he now has a 3-7 sitting on there and a 2-3. That is super concerning if you're in the shoes of KingMeelo. And I think he's kind of looking back on that decision saying, yeah, I think I should have given that Ogremancer Divine Shield, because that would have been another bonus hit that he could have taken or something to play with overall. And now having a Pinflinger to play with, that may be something pretty big. And I know my Yogg, Galloping Savior, Reckoning, I gotta say, I'm not exactly sure which one would be the best play in this situation. Because, I mean, none of these cards are exactly all that expensive. Reckoning would be great for these Inquisitors. Only issue is, at this stage in the game, Nyte has 2 of them, not just 1.
Yeah, the philosophy was absolutely massive, especially because it was generated off another card. Very, very fortunate to have that in here. Having 2 Inquisitors make us going to be so hard to deal with down the stretch. We know how backbreaking 1 Inquisitor can feel. It's one of those cards, when that battle cry comes through, you just kind of sink in your chair a little bit. We're going to see if Nyte can pilot their way to this win, but it's looking very promising. Once again, KingMeelo sent reeling a little bit, being put on the back burner as we saw last game. Penflinger will be coming through. This may be an interesting opportunity here, as you pointed out, when you do find this Penflinger. So much ability to control the board, so much ability to push through some damage to face as well. Just going to be continually bounce hand, continuing to have an impact over the course of this turn.
Yeah, and looking at the stage of the game right now and how these players are playing out, Reckoning obviously being a good chance to go ahead and get a free kill on that Inquisitor. Only issue is that's going to be 9 damage to face before that. So you got right here, that's going to be, and going and getting out of the way with that, with the man crit. That's going to hurt. Getting that free trade with the 9/9, utilizing that hero power, doing that 1 damage on top of the extra 9. That hurts. That really does hurt. I mean, looking at how he's at 2 mana, or 2 health, excuse me now, he doesn't really have much to play with. I mean, you could run out the hero Naru, but he's got a second Inquisitor, and he has enough mana to go ahead and play out a hero power with it. So I gotta say, looking at it right now, I think Nyte closes this out. If anything else happens, you know what? I'll eat dirt for dinner. But I mean, this alone just looks like it's gonna be done for.
I'm going to need a dirt cam there on Mick if that does happen. Argent Protector coming through.
I'll give it.
Slap down with the Divine Shield. All right, finest dirt. The finest dirt we have to offer, chat. Can I get some lines on dirt? Someone start dropping links. I'm going to need some dirt. Highest quality, only the best for the NECC casters, excuse me. Pen player going to be bounced back to hand right there. KingMeelo says their prayers, dreams a little bit, and hopes it's going to be enough. Second Inquisitor coming through right here, going in, and that is going to be your game.
Wow. All right, y'all can put the dart away. I got it. We're good. As interesting as it would have been, I mean, I think we all really predicted this. Looking at how everything's played out, looking at these deck archetypes that were brought in tonight, seeing how everything plays out, I gotta say, that Demon Hunter, obviously getting that first closure out on it with that token Druid, I feel like that was more of a slip up by Nyte, not controlling the board well enough and playing things out. But the way that KingMeelo actually managed to get something, I'm sure that's where he's like, you know, Dallas was wrong, Mick was wrong, you know. I sat there, I didn't ban it, I got a game out of it. Thing is, you gotta get 3, buddy, you're already a little bit behind. So, I mean, that alone just kind of didn't exactly play in the favor of him, letting him have all those aggro archetypes, didn't play to his favor. I mean, I said it so many time and time again with every single one of these games. Nyte had a late game win condition. Every single time. You look at Warlock, you want him to burn down that deck. You want to make sure that, you know, your opponent has less cards than you do, and you can go ahead and just control the board. Demon Hunter, you're looking for those Inquisitors. Secret Paladin was the only real matchup where he had like an even grounds for himself, but if you won that, he would have been a much different choose over the course of the game, or over the course of the whole series, excuse me. But just not getting that, losing that up front, and going ahead and whipping it out again, I mean, that's just, I gotta say, at that stage in the game, just go ahead and give it up, buddy. Go somewhere else. Make Secret Paladin your last one in that stage, because it's a good opener, but past that stage, it's not going to do much for you. Nyte even proved that.
Yeah, and I'm going to eat my words. I was high in the Secret Paladin list coming in. I thought it was a fantastic tournament pick, excuse me. It's been performing so well on ladder, but when the game slows down a little bit, when you get this tournament setting, things are very different. Obviously, the strengths of aggro lists on ladders, you can just slam them over and over again. You can run it back as soon as you lose. Doesn't come through in this setting. Mick, do you have anything else to say before we head to a quick break and then have our trophy presenting ceremony?
I mean, not really. Just congratulations to both of these guys for making it this far anyways. I mean, KingMeelo, regardless of where he stands today, you know, losing out the Nyte, he made it further than a lot more people. I mean, you got to sit there and see either the half glass full or half empty. And I mean, when we're in front of people, we got to kind of be full when it looks at it. So, I mean, overall, just great job to him. Great job to Nyte. I mean, I've seen this man finishing just as strong as he started. Maybe the series wasn't as quick as when I first was introduced to him. But nonetheless, he won a tournament over it. He won a championship. So, I mean, it buffs out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're just joining us here, you missed a great series. But the clock strikes midnight and Nyte overtakes KingMeelo, and that will be all she wrote for this Cinderella story that came up a few games shy. We're going to have to do a quick break, and on the other side, we're not only going to have an interview with the winner, with Nyte, but also a quick trophy presenting ceremony with none other than Commissioner Jake Vin Ryan. Stick around.
What will you like today? Another Cloud 2 Classic?
I'll stick with the usual. Maybe take a little bit off the sides.
Oh, that's fresh.
The HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless.
Hey, watch your head.
And there you have it, our Champions Division final, Nyte defeating KingMeelo, with a really fun final game there, Jacob, with the Inquisitors at the end, the win condition there for that particular deck. And we're going to have Nyte in here shortly for an interview. But another game in the books here, Jacob, as we're running out of games to cast.
It's funny you bring that up because I was just thinking about that, Jim. It's a little bit bittersweet. It's been a long few days, obviously, but now we're down to our final championship of the spring semester, waiting in the horizon with our final Overwatch title to hand out. So 18 of 19 are down. It's been like I said, it's been a long few days, but now you're starting to like see the end, and you're like, it's cool that it's over, and everybody will get to sleep and everybody gets to catch their breath, but at the same time, it's a little bit sad at the same time.
We're all looking at the light at the end of the tunnel. Unfortunately, the light at the end of the tunnel is the fact that the tunnel is on fire. So as I make jokes here as we wait for Nyte to come in, nobody wants to hear my jokes, though. They want to hear about this year's Champions Division champion, Nyte. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, Jim? I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, great. You should be feeling good. Taking out KingMeelo there. I liked the Inquisitor fight. The Inquisitors. Yeah, I can't speak. The Inquisitors at the finish. That was a nice touch at the end there.
Yeah, when I saw that last taunt come down, I was a little worried, and then I was like, oh, I have the Inquisitor with the perfect lethal with the Chaos Strike, and I was pretty hype at the end.
Perfect lethal is always a lot of fun in a match like that. Not over lethal. Just no. I don't need to do an extra. Just perfect lethal. Here you go. My gift to you. Out of those four, 3-1 there. Out of those four, which was your favorite round there of that one?
I've got to say it was probably my Warlock game. That one was going a little slow for me at the start, and I just kept telling myself through the game, like, we just got to live through this turn. We just got to keep living. And I just kept playing with that mentality of just really not putting too much damage out, but just clearing the board constantly until I got there. And so it was really fun to just kind of sit back and play the game.
That's really how Warlock works too. You just sit back and it's like, no, this is fine. You've got like 4, 2, 3 health. You're like, no, this is fine. I'm not dead yet. We're fine.
Hey, Nyte. First of all, congratulations, my friend. Awesome performance tonight.
Hey, thank you.
Let me ask you about the Hearthstone community there at Arcadia. You had your own little sort of private bracket there. You beat a teammate in the semifinals. I imagine you sort of had the weight of the campus on your shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, the community here at Arcadia is really nice, and we've worked really hard this last couple of weeks prepping for this match. And I've just got so many wonderful coaches and people coming in to help, and the teammates that help support us. And so through this bracket, it was really fun to watch kind of Arcadia branch out and play through NECC. And then as they all started to fall out and I was the only one left, kind of rally behind me and support me for this win. I definitely couldn't have done it without them.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Jacob, I believe that you might have a little something that Nyte is looking for.
It's a little bit. It looks like this trophy, my friend. It's coming your way. We'll get you the trophy. We'll get you the shirt. We'll get you the headset. But most importantly, congratulations on an NECC championship in our Champions Division. Well deserved in here 2021. We're thrilled for you.
Hey, thank you.
Alrighty, and that will bring us to the end of our Hearthstone finals. But don't go anywhere, friends. Our final. Yeah, that's right. That's the English language. Our final coming up. Overwatch. It's going to be talking about bittersweet, Jacob. It's going to be a bit of a bittersweet match. Why don't you go ahead and talk about what this match is going to mean?
Yeah, we see Fanshawe against Becker, and Fanshawe's the top seed, but Becker's really the story tonight. Unfortunately, recently, Becker College announced that they will be closing at the end of this academic year. So for many of these players, those that are still are not graduating this spring, they'll have to find other institutions to attend. They want to continue their collegiate career. I know a handful of them already have. But ultimately, this is it for Becker as a program. And they're a program that's close to us, certainly. The general manager of their program is a member of our board of directors. So this is one of those situations where it's hard. It's part of the current climate, unfortunately. But Becker probably the sentimental choice. But on the flip side, Fanshawe, they joined the conference and they're looking for a title. That's the Overwatch championship we've got coming up next.
Alrighty, so that's the one that's coming up. We're going to get you to it as soon as possible. We're going to cut to ads when we come back. Overwatch finals coming up.